Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be overreacting to the start and the first week of the 2023 NHL season. Now, with every single NHL team getting started and getting their season underway, what are my thoughts across the league and what are my thoughts on some of the teams and the players as well through the first week of the NHL season? Watch till the end for all the overreactions and all of the thoughts, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new. 50% of you guys aren't subscribed, so if you like hockey content, this channel is the place to be. Now, going on to my first overreaction of the NHL season, this one admittedly as a Stars fan might be a little bit biased, but at the same time, we need to talk about Jake Oettinger and how he might be the front runner for the VEZINA trophy. Now, of course, at age 23, Oettinger had that amazing playoffs versus Calgary, getting a .954 save percentage in 7 games and looking amazing in the first round and being such a high quality player after putting up a .914 save percentage in 48 games in the regular season. And I thought Jake Oettinger was in for a pretty solid year, but 3 games in, he has been spectacular. He's allowed 3 goals on 86 shots and has a .966 save percentage. Absolutely legendary. And when we look at the league-wide standings and you look at Jake Oettinger here, if you look at even strength goals saved above average, he is first in the entire NHL with his 3 games played. And when you look at all strengths going into power plays and everything, he is also first as well. So you get a great indication of just how good Jake Oettinger has been. But when you combine even strength, power play, penalty kill, and everything, and you look at the goals saved above expected, he has more than 2 goals saved above average compared to the second place goalie in Freddie Anderson. Just showing how good he's been. He's been at an elite level, and honestly, I don't see it stopping. The Stars defense has been relatively solid so far, and to me, I could see Jake Oettinger in a situation where down in the season, especially when the season is over, Oettinger gets consideration for at least a top 3 spot, gets a nomination for the VEZINA trophy, and again, maybe alongside an Ilya Sorokin or maybe another goaltender. I think Oettinger is going to be close to getting a VEZINA trophy and maybe is the favorite to get it done. Now, moving on to my second overreaction of the NHL season so far, let's go on to one that I was pretty surprised to see. For my second overreaction, the Boston Bruins might be the most underrated team in the entire NHL right now. When we were discussing the Bruins and their place in this season in the standings and potentially the playoffs, a lot of the conversation was surrounding McAvoy and Marchand being out for the first couple of months of the season at least. And even though Marchand is progressing quite solidly, I never expected them to be without those 2 guys and actually having success. But in the 3 first games that they played, they have a 3-0 record. They are +8 in their plus minus and have 6 points in the air, tied for first place in the entire league. And for the Bruins to be able to do that without Marchand and McAvoy is actually unbelievable. But you can see some of the players on the defense playing a lot better, that depth being fantastic for them, unironically, and especially Pastrnak coming up in big ways, and the Bruins have been real solid thus far. And when you look at the season so far, you got a 5-2 win versus Washington, a obvious win versus Arizona that needed to happen, and then another win in a crucial Atlantic Division opponent in the Panthers with a 5-3 win as well. Even though I don't see the Bruins maintaining this, if they're still able to be above 500 by the time that Marchand and McAvoy are back, the Bruins, I think, could still be a playoff team, and I don't think many people saw really that coming, especially after the first week. Going on to the third overreaction next up, let's go on to one that I've been kind of thinking about for a while, but especially with the first week, it's kind of validated me a little bit. The Devils had historically bad goaltending in 2022, and I saw a lot of people having the Devils on top of teams like the Rangers in the standings this next year and this season, which I thought was blasphemy, and I didn't think that the goaltending for the Devils would be consistent enough to be able to have a playoff team on their hands, and we've seen that that has been the case so far, with the Devils being 0-2, and you can see both Blackwood and Vanacek have played a game, which isn't a big sample size whatsoever, and again, it is overreactions, but you can see with Blackwood, an .833 save percentage, 4 goals against, with Vanacek, 5 goals against, and a .773 save percentage, and both of them already among the worst in goals saved above average, which is obviously the case. But to me, for the Devils, it just continues to be this way, where even if the defense has looked better, the goaltending is back at its worst, and that is bad news for New Jersey. But now going on to my fourth overreaction in a much more different situation than New Jersey with the goaltending in a much better way. Let's go on to the Vegas Golden Knights. On my overreaction might be that the tandem for Vegas might actually not be a problem. Now, it is, again, just 3 games of a goaltending sample size is huge, but so far, it's actually been an amazing strength for them through their first 3 games. You can see with Logan Thompson a .947 save percentage, which is unreal to see, as well as Adin Hill, who was a big trade for them this last offseason, with a .939 save percentage in his first game with the Knights, with Thompson only allowing 3 goals in his first 2 games, and Adin Hill allowing 2 in his first. But to me, if that goaltending is able to hold, I think the Vegas Golden Knights are for sure a playoff team, especially with some rejuvenation onto that roster. But I mean, Logan Thompson is an interesting one. If he's able to be a starter quality guy, you can see he had a .914 save percentage in 19 games, and at some points it was much higher than that. But if he's able to stick with that consistency, if he's able to be a starter for Vegas, then to me, they're a playoff team, no doubt. Especially when you look at the Pacific Division, where you have San Jose obviously being bad, Vancouver, which looks to be horrible, and we'll get into them in a second, Anaheim, who hasn't looked good whatsoever, same thing with Seattle. Edmonton, of course, has only played 2 games, but to me, I think there's a clear path here for the Knights to make the playoffs and to be a playoff team in the West, and especially with the Kings kind of being so far, I think the Golden Knights could make it. Now going on to my 5th overreaction for the 2023 season, next up, let's go on to one for the Ottawa Senators, and for my next overreaction, I think DJ Smith, head coach of the Sens, might already be on the hot seat. Now, nothing I would say would come in like the next week or something, but I would say if the Sens continue to play like this, by November, I think we could see a coaching change in Ottawa. Now, you see, of course, the 0-2-0 record already, 3 goals scored, 7 against, and you look at some of the statistics, and already you can see some inconsistencies, but you just look at what has already happened in this schedule, and it's not exactly the greatest start for them. You obviously lose 4-1 to the Sabres, which was just a sad defeat for them. And then, of course, you lose that game, which was right in their grasp, especially to get some points there, losing 3-2 in regulation versus the Elites, which I think was another devastating loss for them. But you look at the schedule, you have Boston, who's playing well, you have Washington, who's a strong opponent, Arizona should be a win, but then you got Dallas, then you got Minnesota, which will be interesting, and then you got Florida. To me, I think at best, you could be still at like a 500 record come November, but even then, I don't think it's good enough for this Sens team, and I think if this continues to happen, where that group doesn't really gel, I think we could see a move happen and DJ Smith getting the axe. Now moving on to my 6th overreaction for the 2023 season, now let's go on to one of my favorites in Cole Caufield, and him potentially being one of the most valuable players in the entire league, which is crazy to think about, but you can see so far in the games that we have seen, obviously Suzuki is leading the Habs in points, but Caufield leading the entire team with 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points, and especially this last game versus Pittsburgh, he was actually unbelievable. It felt like every single shift, he was an impact player, both on offense and defense in the right ways. And to me, I think Caufield has been absolutely brilliant for them, but you also see some of the context here. A great tweet from Sportsnet Stats, most even strength goals since February 10th when Marty St. Louis took over as the Canadiens head coach. And you can see only 2 players are above him, Auston Matthews and Elias Lindholm, some pretty big company, and Ty with some good company as well in Nathan MacKinnon. He's been absolutely amazing, and he's already proved this Habs roster as well that he can be great when they're not even performing all that well. They've been okay to start the season, but Caufield has been dynamic and confident in everything, and the Habs around him haven't been anything special and have been their old self. To me, I think Caufield could be in a great position, and if he continues this type of play, I think he'll get 30 easily this year, maybe even 35 or maybe even 40 goals this season. And I mean it. It could be that crazy for him. Now, I said we were going to talk about him, but going on to my 7th big overreaction for the 2023 season, and this will be an overreaction. Again, we are just 3 games into the season with this team, but at the same time, it's about as demoralizing of a start as you could wish and hope to have. For my 7th overreaction, I think the Canucks have shown us that this core cannot compete like this. And you can see in the 3 games they have played, it's an 0-3-0 start. But it's not about the losses. Obviously, the losses are hard to have. But it's about the way the Canucks are losing them. They are the first team in NHL history to start out in their first 3 games of the season by blowing a multi-goal lead in every single game. The first team ever to do this, and considering the Canucks just in the last month hitched their wagon with JT Miller, locked him up, and truly committed to having this core as the core that will lead them to true success and lead them to the promised land. Yet an 0-3-0 start and a group that has already shown us so far that they won't be able to get the job done, let alone make the playoffs. I mean, seriously, the goaltending issues already with the roster have been horrible. You can see just the defensive holes on the roster just truly showing their warts. And to me, I thought the defense was easily the biggest problem, but now Demko isn't even playing all that well. And to me, if this season goes sideways, there will be lots of changes, even more changes for Vancouver, but especially in the roster. Now, going on to my 8th overreaction, I just wanted to say that Auston Matthews has 2 points in 4 games and 1 goal. I just thought it was funny. And also 0 points and only 4 shots versus the Coyotes. It was really nice for him to really take it easy on his future team. I can respect that quite a bit. Now, going on to my 9th overreaction for this season so far, this one's actually pretty interesting because if you asked me at the beginning of the season how many points, how well will Timo Meier do, even though I thought the Sharks would be horrible, which so far has absolutely been the case, I still would have thought Timo Meier would have been still pretty great, kind of like Cole Caufield in Montreal. But as you can see so far, in 4 games, the guy has 1 assist for 1 point. And you look at, I mean, the Sharks were not a good team whatsoever last year, but in 77 games, he got 35 goals still, 41 assists, 76 points, and was absolutely terrific. And although Tomas Hertl hasn't been amazing in his own right, still at the same time, I feel like with especially Timo Meier, that type of production is pretty disappointing, especially when he's right in the prime of and the heart of his career at age 26. But it's interesting because I ended up looking at the Sharks and their advanced statistics, and if you look at the expected goals for per 60 on the Sharks, when it comes to Timo Meier, he's pretty much in the middle with, at the number 9 spot, but as you can see, only 1.79, but also defensively, I will say, he has done pretty well analytically, second best on the team. But you can see with both Hertl and Meier, although defensively they've done quite well and are the 2 best defensive players on the team so far, the offense just has not been there, and especially in Meier's case, I think that's really disappointing. With Hertl obviously being a center, he can kind of get away with that a little bit more, but with Meier, that offense still needs to be there. But hey, whatever gets them Connor Bedard, I guess it's working. Now going on to my 10th and last overreaction for the 2023 season, at least so far. My next one is that Marc-Andre Fleury might just be cooked. Now, the Wild have played 3 games, 0-3-0, and to me, although the defense definitely has not been amazing by any means, the goaltending has been legendarily bad. As you can see with Philip Gustafsson, he's been bad in his own right, an .860 save percentage, 506 goals against average, but that is nothing compared to what Marc-Andre Fleury has done with this Wild roster. In 2 games, an 8.37 goals against average and a .776 save percentage. And when you look at league-wide goaltending, all strengths, last place is Marc-Andre Fleury. If you look at even strength and you go with that, and we look at the worst goaltender, by far it is Marc-Andre Fleury. And even though he had a great season with Vegas in 2020 for sure, he was horrible. And this gives me a lot, or horrible in the start of 2021 with Chicago. And it's kind of giving me those type of vibes where even though Fleury was better at the second half and okay, I guess, in the playoffs at best, it seems like Fleury has some major issues, and I just want to say for people that told me that he was still a top 5, top 10 goaltender, it's not happening. He's done. But that'll be it for my overreactions for the 2023 season, at least so far. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys agree and disagree with, and let me know what your biggest overreactions are for the 2023 season so far. Which overreactions do you see keeping throughout the season? Let me know your thoughts down below, and of course, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online, get the overreactions out there, everyone, and click on this card for all my hockey rankings content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.